So, welcome.
Yeah.
I see a lot of familiar faces. This is fun. So, maybe those in the kitchen. Hi, Linda. All kinds of cool people are wandering in. Can you hear me in the kitchen?
They're oogling.
Can you hear me in the kitchen? So let's find our way to the dining room. And I can tell you, you won't fit all in the dining room. So squish in wherever you can. When I say dining room, that's where I am. So we're celebrating my brother Tim's first book publication, which is a children's book called Bugs. And we're going to gather here for about 20 minutes or maybe just a little more. And first he's going to read the book, and then the kids are going to go out and have a special little time on the porch. And the rest of us will talk a little more.
That'd be great. Bugs by Tim Robinson, illustrated by Casia Joy, who did these watercolors up here.
Is she here?
She's not here. She's in Michigan. She just had twin boys.
Whoa!
Grandpa, look. There's a bug on your boot. It has polka dots on it. Looks kind of cute. I see it, sweetie. Let's catch this insect and carefully put it where it can connect with other bugs like it, and there's more we might see. A beetle, an aphid, a cricket, a bee. There's a secret world mostly in the outdoors. Come take a look. We'll get down on all fours. Because down at ground level, between tufts of grass, are lots of bugs crawling, some slow and some fast. Some are green, some are brown. Some are red, blue, and gold. There are so many kinds you can't count them, I'm told. Some not only crawl, but take flight in the air. Some help, some can harm. Some get stuck in your hair. They crawl in the sunlight or fly by the moon. They swarm around lanterns at nighttime in June. Birds like to eat them, bats, and anteaters too. That is good because some of them want to eat you. You can catch them or watch as they crawl on their way. On their bug sort of business they do day by day. In all of the world there are bugs large and small. But even big bugs make you look so tall.
We're going to move kids outside to do more crafts if you want to, and then Tim can continue with Dave. So good to see everybody.
Thank you, Ann. Great to see you. Thanks for coming, everybody. Yeah.
Are you doing autographs later?
Yes.
We brought our friends.
Okay.
There's more seats. Now that the kids are gone.
Okay. When I was in my early 20s, my older brother Doug, older than Dave, told me something that was important. He says people that write down their goals tend to bring them about, tend to make them happen more than people who don't write them. That stuck with me. And I started keeping a notebook with goals and ambitions, and I still do that. And that's relevant to what.
Tell about the
Okay,
goal.
okay.
Yeah.
This book I bought from a local author at, and it's a great. What? Oh, sorry. I bought this book from a local author, and it's a story of him growing up in the 50s, but he writes encouraging other people to write their memoirs, and he included these cards at the back he called dream cards, where he encourages you to write a life ambition or goal down. And so I ripped one out in the last day of 2007, and I filled it out. This was on New Year's Eve of at the end of 2007, to complete and publish a children's picture book, 12/31/2007.
Wow.
And I found this in a file I had that I had forgotten about. I found it recently, like about 2 months ago, and it meant a lot to me to find that goal and have it 15 years later, have it be reality.
Cool. So I'm Tim's brother Dave. I have the privilege of interviewing him today. So you had the goal. What instigated the actual doing of the tasks between where you were and the goal, which is realized today? Because that's a number of years.
Yeah.
What do you credit with making that happen eventually, or did it kind of sort of happen throughout the whole time? How would you describe what stimulated that?
It's huge that I was a part of Dave's art fellowship second Saturday. That's such a creative atmosphere. And I published in a homespun book through Blurb a bunch of my poems that I wrote for second Saturday, and that got me interested in publishing. I did that in 2009, and so I started a publishing company a few years later, and I have stage fright, y'all, and I apologize for that.
It's just us.
We talked about this. You're not on stage. You're sitting in your
I'm
own,
sitting in my own dining room.
your own home. You're sitting in your own home, having a chat with me.
Right.
So Karen and I started Second Saturday 20 years ago, which, if you were inside my head right now, that's really mind-blowing.
Yeah.
And it was we called it the opposite of a competition. Hey there. Where you get together and you share your creative expressions of any sort. And we had, I didn't know there were so many art forms. I mean, people would come and share just everything, including performing arts and all sorts of stuff. And we had our first show in 2003, which is 20 years ago. And Tim he had written two.
I had written a couple of poems in the past, one in college, and I read those two poems in front of the crowd at the art show that Second Saturday put on in 2003, and my knees were knocking.
They were literally knocking. It was hilarious.
And but that got me interested in doing more, and I turned one of those poems into I lettered it out and illustrated it into a wall hanging, and I showed it at a church art show. That would be in 2003, and 14 people who saw it said this should be a children's book. And that's what kind of sparked the idea of doing a children's book in my head. It wasn't bugs, it was another poem.
Was it about chocolate?
No, that's another one.
He's got several that could make fun children's books.
So with that's what stimulated the desire to do a children's book. I didn't expect that I would publish it myself, or that I would form a publishing company to publish it. I just was hoping that somehow it'd all come together.
So tell us about your writing of Bugs poem.
I wrote it in the airport in Milwaukee on a layover to see my parents on
Random.
July 26, 2005. And I had to look that up. I didn't remember that. I want to show something.
Well, let me say something first.
Go for it.
So Tim has I guess you'd call it an art form. He's probably done, I don't know, I'm guessing 20 or so.
About 30.
About 30.
If I know
okay.
what you're talking about.
You might. About 30 written pieces, little stories or poems on bizarre media. Examples that come to mind are he wrote a poem about music out of little beads that were letters, and he lettered it on guitar strings. So there's a guitar, and the strings are the lines of the text because they're beaded with these little letters. He wrote a poem about, was it about a road?
Yeah.
And on a chunk of asphalt. He wrote a poem about laundry on paper that he made from dryer lint. So he wrote bugs on.
Okay, I gotta show you this too.
Oh, here.
Got it over here. I made paper from a paper wasp nest
Oh my goodness.
and lettered out bugs on it.
Wow.
Wow.
How do you
And
make the paper?
what's that?
How do you make the paper?
I'll tell you later. So this has most of the poem, the original poem, bugs on it.
Oh my goodness.
So I realize a lot of you can't see and can't see us. There will be plenty of opportunities. So make sure you get a look at this because it's bizarre and weird and super cool. What else are we talking about?
Well, I want
You
to know
were-
why a children's book?
Let's go there.
Okay, I really enjoyed children's books as a kid, and my favorite author was Dr. Seuss. And this, I don't want to sound, I don't mean this the wrong way. I had the ambition. I thought a lot of people write books for adults, but I figured I wanted to be able to write a book for kids. And like I felt like that was a greater thing to do.
May I share something personal about you?
Yeah.
Tim had an extremely happy childhood and an extremely miserable young adulthood. And so longing for the happiness of childhood became thematic in many years of his life. And so I think that's connected,
Yeah.
if I may, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So you mentioned you got into publishing. Explain that, because a lot of people, you talk about putting out a book and then it turns out you didn't write it, and then you put out this book and you did write it. Clarify what you mean by publishing.
I started Three Uncles Publishing.
I'm one of the uncles.
He's one of the uncles. I encourage you all to go to hey Ben. I encourage you all to go to threeunclespublishing.com, and you can see our website and see our fellow uncle Andre. Picture him. He's our brother-in-law.
So Tim started a publishing company a few years back. He published first a book of poetry. Can I
Go for it, Dave. Go for it.
published first a book of poetry by a guy named Luke Wakefield, who a few of you might have encountered. It's wonderful stuff. It's a small book. It's sitting right out in the foyer there. We've got copies here. Beautiful stuff. Wide emotional spectrum. It's kind of amazing to me how he can make something hilarious and the next page just really super beautiful, and the next page sorrowful and sad, and it works. It's all the same voice, and really good stuff. And then Tim published another book by Jean Marie Jobs, who's here, called The Art of Feeding Heroes, which is a wonderful collection of her guidance and teaching about, I want to put it away, I haven't heard you put it this way, but I want to put it this way. Imagine, genetics. Imagine if there was a hero gene in you.
Yeah.
Like, her book helps you to learn how to activate that gene. And in others, to help bring out the hero in other people and bring out the hero in yourself. So it's a wonderful book. And then he got a third book, which is by a guy named Octavio Cesar Martinez.
Yeah.
It's awesome. It's I just got to tell something. I gave it to a friend on the train on my way to work. He immediately started reading it, and the next time I saw him, he says, "That was a minor miracle. I forgave my mom." It's a book on forgiveness. It's just a great message. It's a good, easy read. It's great.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, Octavio has his own personal story of forgiveness under a father that, from Octavio's first impressions, was quite the abusive tyrant. And then he lived a life and journeyed through forgiveness, forgiving his dad and coming into great personal freedom, and further, like, we're actually learned to deeply love his dad. And so it's an amazing tale, easy read, but deep and wide. Then Three Uncles published the fourth book, which is Tim's own.
Yay! And we had team meetings on Zoom over about once a week through 2022, and the artists would give us sketches and we'd approve them. It was basically, the team was me and Dave and Patty, our book designer, Patty, and it was a great team. I really enjoyed it, but Dave was essential to catch things in the art that needed to be corrected, and we caught them all. It just, it's great.
I'm the one who corrected. Thanks. There's a fifth book coming, which will be mine. I think the title, the working title now, I think it'll stick, is Stars and Skeletons, A Life Journey with My Schizophrenic Brother. The darkness I referred to in Tim's young adulthood was a diagnosis of chronic undifferentiated schizophrenia, which stuck for many years and was a horrible experience for he and for me and others near him. And the book details our journey of his and of mine through that darkness and what it took to recover. And Tim's recovery, as is obvious, is amazing.
Amen.
To the point that if you just know the Tim now, hearing about schizophrenia doesn't even make sense. And it wasn't a light case.
It wasn't a light
It was
case.
as bad as it gets.
And I owe my life completely, I owe my life to many people, but I owe my life to my brother because he insisted on, it's going to be public in a few weeks,
Some repairs
some repairs that needed to be done, that the doctors were reluctant, and it wouldn't have worked if I hadn't had him. I wouldn't be here. Dave took me into his business when I was a helpless, skillless person, and I worked there for 7 years and got me more normalized to where I was able to go to college, finish, get a career, and meet my wonderful Anne Marie. And
Yes.
yeah.
So all of that, so 4 books and others coming. I think mine will be next. It's written and it's just sort of entering the editing stage. And the celebration today is kind of 2 things. It's for a really cool new kids book in the world that is just fun and delightful and beautiful and sweet. And the little girl in the book, if anyone's curious, is modeled after our niece, Tori. We have a colorful family, and it's just super fun to have her sort of be this little character in the book. And what was I gonna say?
Creative interfaces.
Tim wants me to give a blurb about Creative Interfaces, which is the nonprofit that Karen and I run, mostly out of this house, but we also do stuff in strange places elsewhere sometimes. We are very into stimulating creativity in people, in anybody willing. Any kind of creativity, because when we are creative, or let me put it a different way, while we are creating, we are our best self. We find we are the most authentic. We find if you're a person who wants to hear God, you find you can hear him easier. And so we're just committed to stoking people's creative process. So therefore, it's a natural leap. We're involved in lots of arts and lots of writing and lots of stoking that in other people. In Jean's language, hopefully maybe we're bringing out the hero. So that's what we do. This is a Creative Interfaces event, and it just happens to also be a family event because Tim's my brother, and Tim lives here, and I live here.
Yes.
So there's Mr. and Mrs. Robinson upstairs and Mr. and Mrs. Robinson downstairs.
Jesus loves you more than you will know.
Yes, they played that already. So we're all about that, and so this is the fruit. We do a lot of, you know, the idea of sowing and reaping. We do a lot of sowing, and I have no idea what happens to the reaping in most cases. We just plant seeds and hope they sprout somewhere, and I love that. It's worthwhile. It's cool. But every now and then we get to harvest seeds we planted and bring it in. And so to me personally, Tim finishing this book and having it be just a beautiful, simple, lovely, healthy thing, me being very familiar with his journey is harvest.
Amen.
And the fruit of his labor and the fruit of our labor. And I love that it's a children's book. I love that it's simple and it's just fun.
So good.
The world needs a lot of that.
Beautiful, don't forget beautiful.
And beautiful.
Yeah.
Casia's illustrations are just really great. Anything else you want to say?
There's probably a lot of things I would have wished I remembered to say. But thanks so much for coming, everybody. I love you guys, and this is fun. And so, oh yes, there's something important I want to say.
Is it this?
Yes, we're going to release this book on Amazon on Tuesday, the 21st. And any of you who actually like the book, I don't want anybody who doesn't like the book to leave a review. If you like the book and you're able to leave a review on Amazon, you don't have to have bought the book on Amazon. You just have to have spent some money in the last year on Amazon. So if you go to, what?
Done that a lot.
If you go to Bugs by Tim Robinson, that's got to get you there, and leave a review. If we can get a bunch of reviews the first day, it can kind of activate the algorithm of Amazon to kind of bring it to the forefront when people look for bugs and things like that.
So we're shooting for 50 reviews on the first day.
That'd be
That's
awesome.
the goal.
That'd be awesome.
What day is that again?
Tuesday, the 21st.
Reminder email to us, it's Tuesday.
Remind email.
That's a good idea. That's a good idea.
Yeah, well, I mean,
Yeah, we can do that.
Yeah, I think we can.
Can we buy the book here, or would you prefer us to buy it?
I'd prefer you buy it here because Amazon takes a huge cut.
Take a cut.
So how can we
So the books are in the foyer over there. All 4 of Three Uncles' books are there for sale. The price of the first 3 books, including tax and everything, the total is $16.33 each. This book is $18.50 each.
Including tax.
Including tax. We're set up for credit cards and cash and whatever you want, and so they're for sale here today. Tim can sit here and sign books. And there's also, one of the things we do here in the house is we print art from local artists, including greeting cards. So I made a bunch of greeting cards that I pulled from art out of the book. And those are for sale also, for $4 each or 6 for 20. So feel free. I think that's it.
I guess so.
So thanks for coming out and braving the rain.
Good. Now,